Mr. Speaker. Can I ask the Minister, when they made the decision, to go down this route, did they understand the pain and difficulty that this will cause millions of people, millions of our constituents who are using food banks, who are using social supermarkets, people who are on the brink? This £5 billion cut is going to impact them more than I think her department is giving credit for. And I would like her department to be able to look my constituents in the eye when I go back to them to tell them that this is going to work for them, because as things stand, my constituents, my friends, my family are very angry about this, and they do not think this is the kind of action that a Labour government takes.
I have
great respect for my honourable friend, but let me just say this to him. I've spent years chairing Feeding Leicester, the programme to end hunger in my city. And I know that I can look my constituents in the eye and say to them, I know that getting more people into better paid jobs is the key to their future success. I know dealing with their mental health problems, which we know are so prevalent, is absolutely essential. We, the Labour Party, believe that if you can work, we will give you the help to get back on your feet, because that is the long-term route to tackling poverty, tackling inequality, which is what this Labour Party is all about.
I agree with the Secretary of State that many disabled and sick people want to work, but the reality is cutting PIP will not address the reasons why they don't. The Secretary of State outlined the reasonable adjustment framework for disabled people is hard. It's very hard to navigate. It took me 6 months to navigate that for my member of staff in the place where we legislate. So how hard is it going to be for disabled people in the workplace to try to get those employees to make those adjustments? Can the Secretary of State outline how she's going to make sure that the workplace is ready for people accessing the workplace, and that disabled gap employment, which really, in a sense, doesn't have anything to do with benefits, but some of the reasonable adjustments that we see not happening at the moment.
I know my honourable friend is an absolute passionate advocate of these issues, and she's right. We have to do far more to work with employers to ensure that those basic reasonable adjustments need to be made. That is one of the issues that Sir Charlie Mayfield is looking at in our Keep Britain Working review, precisely because we know good employers understand the need to make these changes. I am very happy to meet with my honourable friend to go through this in more detail, because she's right. We've got to get this absolutely nailed.
The predication of this whole statement is saving £5 billion at the expense of people with disabilities in our society. Anyone who's been through the trauma of trying to apply for a personal independence payment and the intrusive nature of the questioning and the very great difficulty of obtaining it, and then of continuing to receive it in the future, what her statement has done is caused consternation and dismay to many people around the country who understandably are alarmed that their benefits are going to go down, particularly those with disabilities, and they're going to live in greater poverty as a result of it. Can she, with hand on heart, say that no disabled person is going to be worse off after a statement, or is that £5 billion going to be taken at the expense of those who live the most difficult lives already in our society?
Secretary of State.
The predication of this statement is to stop people being written off, denied opportunities, denied hope, denied a future, and it's about making the social security system sustainable for the long term. And that, for me, is so important, because when you have 1,000 new people being new PIP awards every single day, many driven by mental health, young people, we have got to look at this.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I was a manager in the employment service, and it's always needed reform, from telling people that they have to come back in 6 weeks to get help, or under the Tory government being told we've got to move people from employment benefits into incapacity benefits to say that there was more people in employment. So it's always needed reform. How we go about it and the way we go about it is fundamental and important. And I don't think it should be linked to saving money, because that's rather crass, and it's caused lots of anxiety for my constituents in Brent East and elsewhere. The patriotic millionaires have said that just a 2% on assets over 10 million will bring in £22 billion a year. That's a better way to bring money in to help fill the black hole that we found ourselves in for the disaster of 14 years of the Tory government. Does the Minister agree with me that aspiration, compassion, care, fairness will be the hallmark of this Labour government?
Aspiration, compassion, care, fairness is absolutely the hallmark of this government. That is why we are bringing forward these reforms. And as I said earlier to the House, I don't start from a spreadsheet. I start from my belief that everybody has a value and a contribution to make in whatever way, and that we want people to fulfil their potential, and that is what these reforms are about.
Of course, everyone in our country who can work and should receive appropriate support to do so. It is of the utmost importance to many on these benches that Labour ensures that disabled people who can never work are supported and protected to live the best possible life in dignity. Can the Minister tell me how an adult who cannot work, however much they would have liked to, because, for example, they have cerebral palsy, a visual impairment and learning difficulties, and who is on enhanced PIP and LCWRA, will be affected by these changes? What would be the impact on their finances?
Secretary of State.
I know my honourable friend cares absolutely passionately about these issues, and I have spoken to her about them many times before. I absolutely agree, and we commit that people who will never be able to work because of the severity of their disability or health condition will be protected by this. And in fact, by never going back and reassessing people, I hope that we will make a positive improvement, giving them the dignity and respect they need and deserve.
Voters of the people who claim universal credit and disability have gone without essential items in the past 6 months. The £5 billion cut is likely to make that worse for them. I've had lots of emails from my Liverpool Riverside constituency, and as mentioned already this afternoon, will the Minister speak with the Chancellor about looking at a wealth tax, because we need a wealth tax and not to be attacking those most vulnerable?
I know my honourable friend cares passionately about these issues. Her constituents will not only benefit from the £1 billion investment into employment support, but the first ever above inflation permanent increase in universal credit if they are on both universal credit and PIP. And we have already taken action to ensure those with the broadest shoulders take a bigger burden, including our action on the non-dom tax status and a tax on the profits of the utility companies. That principle of fairness is vital to us all.
Resolution Foundation has warned that cuts to PIP could see 620,000 people lose around £675 a month, hitting the poorest families hardest. With 870,000 children living in PIP-receiving households, 290,000 of whom are already living below the poverty line, how can the government justify pushing more disabled people and children into poverty instead of pursuing fairer alternatives such as a 2% wealth tax on assets over 10 million? This would raise £24 billion, 5 times as much as those proposed from these cuts. Is austerity 2.0 the change people really voted for?
Secretary of State.
Spending on working age sickness and disability benefits will still rise substantially over this Parliament. The full assessments of the numbers affected and by how much will be published alongside the Spring Statement.